What defines a hard science fiction? There are many ways you could define it, and no doubt every sci-fi fan has their own. Some might say that any fiction inspired by or lightly based off scientific principles counts as a hard science fiction. Star Trek, for example, might fall under that definition. More fundamental critics might argue that a hard science fiction is only that if it uses tangible science to tell a fictional story, such as the movie Interstellar. To me, though, the purest test of a science fiction is seeing whether it holds up to the scientific method, or put simply, whether or not you can take any part of its universe, grab a calculator and run some numbers on it. If it's a hard science fiction, they'll make sense, and if it isn't, they won't. This, above all else, is why I love Mass Effect. It isn't afraid to give you some hard numbers and real science to play with, and every time it checks out. To give you a straightforward example, the Alliance gunnery chief on the Citadel mentions,
"This recruits is a 20-kilo ferrous slug. Feel the weight! Every 5 seconds, the main gun of an Everest-class dreadnought accelerates 1 to 1.3% of light speed. It impacts with the force of a 38-kiloton bomb."
Kinetic energy is calculated using 1/2 times mass times velocity squared. Plug in the numbers and you get a lot of joules. If you plug this into a joule to kiloton conversion tool, sure enough, that projectile at that speed would release about 38 kilotons of energy, so the gunnery chief was telling the truth. But there's a problem that to my knowledge nobody has managed to fix. Mass Effect's core principle, the mass effect, doesn't make any sense. Most might simply say that it's fiction, so of course we don't know how it works. Others, like my friend MTJ Disorder in a video a few days ago, described it as,
like other sci-fi franchises such as Star Trek and The Expanse, Mass Effect attempts to use plot devices to eliminate potential hurdles of special relativity, rather than straight up ignoring them.
The result of this is that members of the community have wildly differing ideas on how Mass Effect-based FTL actually works. Some take the explanation given in the Codex at face value, and ignore the fact that the speed of light has nothing to do with how heavy a ship is at all. Others, like my childhood favourite Austin from The Science over on Shortycast, believe that FTL drives give ships a negative mass, which would force them to travel faster than the speed of light, even though that would also mean that ships should be travelling backwards in time, which they don't, and it doesn't account for the speed of light itself changing. I refused to accept this. A franchise as scientifically sound as Mass Effect could not have such a gaping hole at its core. And on one sleepless night a few months ago, I decided I would find the answer to Element Zero no matter what. And what I discovered was a scientific rabbit hole that showed me what Mass Effect truly is. A carefully constructed web of scientific perfection. And the answer that opened the door had been staring us in the face for 18 years. So join me as I try to untangle this web in a series I'll call Decoding the Codex, where my goal will be to construct a single unbreakable library of every relevant scientific question one can have about the Mass Effect universe, with the eventual goal to be able to fully explain both the mass relays and the Reapers themselves. I hope to see you in the first episode, which should be uploaded to the channel already. Kila Salai.